allegiance. Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would anyone here like to volunteer for an invocation? We can also skip today. Anyone? All good. Let's skip it. Our next order of business is swearing in of our newest commissioner, Mr. Bender. Mr. Meek, if you'd like to do the honors.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, if you could please raise your right hand for me. And please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
perform the duties of Commissioner of the St. Augustine Port Waterway and Beach District
perform the duties of Commissioner of the St. Augustine Port, Waterways, and Beach District.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome. With that, let's have a roll call.
Commissioner Rivers. Commissioner Way.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Bender.
Here.
Great. Next order of business is adoption and approval of agenda. Do any of the commissioners have any modifications, questions, anything? Agenda, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
So moved. Mr. Bender, second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That opens up public comment. Any members of the public? Hearing nothing. Government representative comments. We got a lot of you today, so let's hear it.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Miller with FWC Coastal Crew. Today I just have some pamphlets for our vessel turn-in program. Just kind of wanted to give them to you guys and let you know about the program because there's been a lot of questions about it. So what the program is it's essentially a chance for at-risk boats to come forward to us if they've received a warning or a citation for at-risk prior to becoming derelict and sign the title over to the state, and then we will remove the vessel.
Okay.
So, one of note that you may have seen some traffic on, the one in Salt Run, the one that went aground and the mast broke off, that boat is accepted into the program and it's slotted for removal. So, just figured I would hand these out, and if you have any questions, just let me know.
Yeah,
Great.
glad to have one.
Yeah, Sam, thank you.
Okay, I just want to state that Tom Rivers has come in.
Yes, Commissioner Rivers has arrived.
And Linda Thompson will be a little late. There was a crash on Inland.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any other government representatives?
Good afternoon. Richard Michaud with St. Johns County Sheriff's Office Marine Unit. Just kind of wanted to come up and maybe answer some questions that you may have. We've had some recent developments in a case from Georgia that has come to light in our local waters. It's being coordinated through Coast Guard with the 3 missing gentlemen that were on the fishing boat. So if there were any questions that the commission had in reference to our actions and what is going on in our waters, I'd be happy to answer them.
Y'all found debris, is that right?
Correct. So south of Desco, which is a fishing area off of our coast, a fish box from a vessel was located. It is tentatively being positively identified as a fish box from the Caroline, which is a missing vessel reported in the Georgia area with 3 gentlemen on board. So that was discovered in our local waters, floating on the ocean surface. And so that is being looked at by Coast Guard now, being evaluated for amount of time it's been in the water, whether it was below the water, but on the water surface, all those kind of things.
How long ago did they go missing?
October 14th is the earliest it could have been missing. So it's been quite a while.
Wow.
Usual. Anybody have any other questions for county sheriffs on that case?
Or any other case. As a matter of fact, I'm open to anything.
I don't think I have any. That's an
All right,
ugly.
so in closing on that specific speaking point, all questions and all inquiries, all interest in what the sheriff's office and the city police department are doing, and FWC for that fact, in reference to the search or for the missing 3 kids, is being coordinated through Sector Miami. We have those numbers available if anybody needed to talk to them or had specific questions for the Coast Guard. But they are the lead on this case, and it should be noted that this case was closed by them. It is not being reopened by them, but they are, of course, they're going to assist the family in any way they can. But they are not reopening this case as a potential recovery or rescue or anything like that.
I see.
So it's just a point of interest that a piece of evidence floated up in our local area, and we're addressing it from there.
Got it. Just out of curiosity, why is it Miami and not Jacksonville?
So Miami has the southeast command of all of Coast Guard.
I
So
see.
that is the central hub for Sector Jacksonville, Savannah, Clearwater, Miami. All of that is controlled through the big station in Miami.
Got it.
So that's why it's a central clearinghouse for them.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
And I'd just like to state that Linda Thompson.
Yeah, Commissioner Thompson has arrived as well.
I apologize.
no worries.
Yeah, we had an accident in St. Augustine.
Nothing to be done about that.
Eric Malden, Harbor Master, City of St. Augustine. Last week I got a call from FWC Waterways Division about the slow speed signs and Salt Run. They're interested in doing triannual inspections of those signs. Since the port is the permit holder for those signs, I wanted to bring it to your attention that they're requesting that, and with your okay, volunteer myself to do those inspections on your behalf and then forwarding that report every 3 years to you guys.
Yeah, any objection to that? Is that something we need to formally vote on? To approve that Harbor Master
I,
conducts these inspections and then transmits info to FWC?
if I could have an extra meeting to get with Ms. Lopez, just to make sure there's no formal interlocal that might be needed for that.
Okay.
Okay.
With us.
All right.
Yeah, could we need to put that on the agenda for the next meeting then to formalize it? Or could
I'll
you?
get with Ms. Lopez.
Right.
And I'll email whether it needs to be on the agenda.
Okay,
or formal.
great.
All right,
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh, what's the latest with the breakwater dock?
Yes, the contractor, they're actively doing the repairs. I'd say it's probably a little more than a third complete, if not getting close to half.
Is that about on schedule?
Yeah, the completion date is February 1st. Should have the barge and crane, the large equipment out by right after the new year, and then we gotta do utility work after that. But it's soon, should be done.
Great.
So if you go by there, you'll see some of the new pilings that have been installed already,
Yeah.
some of the big steel pilings, so it's going good.
I just got back into town. Did they put any Christmas lights on the crane?
Not yet, not yet. It's still soon though, they may do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Corey Sackard, City of St. Augustine. Today I have a draft of our interlocal agreement for our next maintenance dredging of Salt Run for our application next year. Traditionally, we take funding from the port, from the St. Augustine Port Waterway and Beach District and apply that as our offset funding to the Florida Inland Navigation District for their upcoming application cycle. So I have a draft copy for Clay Meeks to review, and then we'll have a final ready for your signature at the next month's meeting.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other government representatives? Carl?
Sir.
Hello, Commissioners. Carl Blow, Florida Inland Navigation District. First off, I want to welcome your new commission here, Commissioner Bender, and welcome aboard. And Fine looks forward to working with you.
Ray Hamill says hello.
Oh, does he? Good, good. Ray's a good guy. Anyway, just to bring you up to date, we're still dredging down in the Matanzas Inlet Intercoastal Waterway area. You know, partnership with the Corps and Fine. We're putting that material in the breach, and the plan was to fill the breach and then move south with the material. What we're seeing so far is the breach is taking more material than we initially estimated. So I don't know how much additional beach will end up being built. It may all go into the breach, basically. So, but other than that, that program or that project is moving along on schedule. And other than that, just wanted to make you aware, as Corey mentioned, the Fine Waterways Assistance Program grant is coming up. This the deadline usually is the last day of March. You know, we've been rocking a lot, and just to briefly explain how that works to the new commissioner. Fine has a grant program that's designed to assist local governments improve the public access to the intercoastal and its tributaries. It actually includes the St. Johns River. The amount of money available each year is based on a formula that uses the gross tax receipts that Fine collects out of each county. Our county has been kind of rocking along each year around $750,000 total available for grants. But due to the growth in St. Johns County last year, it ended up to be over $1 million. And what happened last year is we followed your lead, and working with the county, we had $1,050,000 available, and basically the county applied for that funding for the Genovar land purchase. And of course, this commission, it was $1.5 million, I believe, that this commission contributed for that land purchase, which is that's a once in a lifetime project. So that's where all the Fine grant money for St. Johns County went last year. So this year, that's why Corey's here today. Apparently the city wants to get back into looking at the Salt Run Channel. But usually I doubt that your request will use the entire amount of funding available. So, if there's anything else that local government might have, I haven't heard. I think the county, basically where they are with Genovar, is in the process of developing plans and specifications in order to proceed with their permits. So the last conversation I had with the county was that they didn't anticipate coming to Fine this year for any grant funding for Genovar. Now, of course, that's all subject to change. They may have another boat ramp or project somewhere. But right now, the only thing I'm aware of is the city's intention on moving forward with a grant for some dredging and Salt Run. I always felt my job as the St. Johns County Commissioner for Fine is to, work to make sure that we take full advantage of this grant program, because it's basically it's the money that's been collected from you, the taxpayers in St. Johns County. So when you don't ask for a grant or you don't submit a grant application, that money goes to the other 11 counties. So anyway, so that's what's going on, with the grants. One thing of interest, we made some changes to our rules because we have some other, one of the other categories in that grant program is a number of years ago we started making or assisting local law enforcement with basically acquiring law enforcement vessels as well, and also fire rescue vessels. And over the years, that amount has increased for a particular county. And anyway, where we are now is we had a total available per county for that grant program for law enforcement or fire rescue vessels of $100,000, and that's a 50% match. What we see, or what I've seen, especially in South Florida, what's kind of interesting is, they have an immigrant smuggling problem as well as a drug smuggling problem, and actually, and I didn't realize this until recently, the first line of defense a lot of times to intercept those smugglers is local law enforcement. The different cities along the Intercoastal Waterway in South Florida have Marine units, and generally they're the first ones out there to hopefully capture those guys. And most of when it comes to immigrant smuggling, most of those guys that they do catch are already convicted felons that have been deported, and they're sneaking back in the country. They were deported because they were criminals. Fortunately, hopefully we won't have that scenario up here, but that's why we have this program to assist law enforcement and fire rescue to help them, primarily repower boats and things like that. So anyway, we bumped that number from $100,000 to $125,000. So for you guys back there in the back, if you need to repower a boat or something like that, that is a funding source, and it's a 50% match. You guys at FWC, we're in a different state program. And then the other thing we changed is we don't see this much in this area, but as you get south of Volusia County, there's a lot of spoil islands adjacent to the Intercoastal Waterway, and a number of those islands have been improved for public access, picnics and stuff like that. And anyway, we increased that maximum per project from $10,000 to $20,000 for a total per county from $30,000 to $60,000. So if by some chance we have a spoil island in this area and we wanted to, improve it for public access, there is this opportunity. And then the other thing we've done is, as you guys know, you've worked with both the city and the county and us fine over the years to remove derelict boats. And we increased the amount available per county for derelict boat removal from $75,000 to, we doubled it to $150,000. And a lot of that's is driven by the derelict problem further south. I mean, everybody's got a derelict boat problem up and down the east coast of Florida. So anyway, Corey, it's now $150,000. So other than that, that's what's going on with fine, and our basically, our deadline for grants is, usually the last day of March. So if you have any questions for me.
What's the deadline, Carl?
The end of March.
End of March.
Yeah, that's why you have to get your interlocal agreement done, and then you guys, I guess do a resolution. The city commission does a resolution, and because that all has to be part of the application.
Thank you.
When is the Matanzas dredging supposed to be done? Do you know?
Give me a second here.
Sorry, I should ask that about 5 minutes ago.
Let me see what they told me on Friday. Just give me 1 second here. We've got a number of projects right now. TANS is, well, started on October the 20th. What's happening down there is we're going to probably increase the scope of work. So my guess is it's going to be next year.
Ask and answer. Thank you, Carl.
All right. thank
Anybody
you.
else? No? Good. Any other government representative comments? Hearing nothing. Secretary Treasurer's report.
The first month of the fiscal year. So basically, the Sheriff's Department overtime, we've spent $3,032. Derelict boats, we've spent $2,844. On the unspecified, oh, I wrote that wrong. It shouldn't say Marie, it should say Marine project. We've spent $84,000, and that was for the Dolphin Drive. All start paid in October of the new year. In the State Board of Administration, we have $24,629. In the operating account, we have $459,275. And in the money market account, we have $1,118,296. We budgeted for this new year $826,000 for tax revenue, and we've received $56,103 to date.
Good. Any questions on that? Any commissioners? No? That brings us to approval of minutes from the October 17th, 2023 regular meeting. Does anybody have any changes, modifications?
No.
No? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written? So moved by Commissioner Thompson and a second from Commissioner Way. All in favor? Aye. Good. Engineering report.
Just a couple of quick updates on some ongoing projects in the county. The Summerhaven River study has basically been complete, and they're supposed to present that to the county commission during their December board meeting. Commissioner Blow gave you an update on the Matanzas dredging, so that's ongoing. What material's going on the beach there. The FEMA dune restoration project has moved to the Crescent Beach Reach, so that area is seeing trucks deliver sand to the beach and placement up in the dune area there. The St. Augustine Beach Shore Protection Project will be kicking off shortly after the first of the year. Contractor's been selected. They're just waiting for some of the contracting stuff to get worked out. And last but not least is there's the construction of a seawall on the north side of the inlet at Porpoise Point Drive has begun. They're connecting the dots basically between an existing seawall and one of the revetments, and so that's ongoing right now.
Got it. Good. Any questions for?
Well, the breach at the southern part of the county, were they putting sand there? Okay.
Right. That was what.
Yeah, I heard that, but I'm just wondering what's going to happen after that. The storm comes away and washes it away.
Well, it'll continue to erode. Absolutely. It's just it depends on how much material they have available. As Commissioner Blow said, they may expand
this. Sand.
I'm sorry?
When you say material, you're talking about
Sand, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Has that been completed?
No, it's ongoing now.
It's ongoing until when?
Next year.
After the first of the year.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Taylor? Engineering? No? Good. There being no old business, that brings us to new business. Grant application to NOAA for enhancement to Bird Island. Mr. Miller?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm J.B. Miller with the City of St. Augustine. So this is for information purposes only. The city, in conjunction with multiple partners, submitted a grant application to NOAA last Friday. And I wanted to bring you guys up to speed just so you would hear about it, not ask it. Hopefully NOAA will fund the whole thing. We'll see how that goes. But and at the end of this presentation, I wanted to show you a little bit about the idle speed zone at the mouth of Hospital Creek, which is in place now. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, but I want to give you a quickly. I don't think this will show. Oh, yeah, will do. So there is Bird Island, which is also called Julia's Island. And the reason it's called, people that grew up here, it's Bird Island, but the reason it's called Julia's Island is because you could imagine there are an awful lot of bird islands in the state. And FWC thought it would be a good idea to give it a different name, so you just don't say Bird Island, St. Augustine, or Bird Island, because it's actually another Bird Island in St. Johns County. So this is what it looks like in 2021. This is what it looked like in 1780. When Chris and I were young.
I never heard of Julia's Island, that's why my first question.
Okay. And I'll just go through a series of, and what this is, this island is a flood shoal associated with St. Augustine Inlet. And we all know that St. Augustine Inlet dramatically was changed in early 1940s, late 1930s, when the Corps of Engineers basically cut the inlet right through the southern tip of Volano Point. So here's 1860. 1937, and then right after that, of course, now the inlet's in place. And you can see 1942, here is the new inlet. This is the southern tip, which is now the northern tip of Conch Island. This is the southern tip of Volano. And this is when the island really started to grow, because the whole dynamics changed dramatically. 1952, 60, 71, 1980. This is when that big shoal to the north started to really come into play. 1989. Of course, some of these shots are taken, aerials taken at high tide versus low tide. So it's 2002, 2010, and 2021. Here's an aerial from December 2021 looking to the east, showing the island. And so what's happening is these portions of the island are where all the birds are nesting, and I'll go into some of the species very briefly. And this is the shoal to the north where there can be, I don't know, Lieutenant Miller, how many boats on a really beautiful low tide in the afternoon? 100. Yeah, heavily used recreationally. This is just kind of a habitat. Look at the habitat, and this is where the birds, for you're not familiar, the birds, which I'm going to get into in a second briefly, is least terns, American oyster catchers, Wilson's plovers are the main three. And they just make scrapes in the ground. They literally make a scrape in the ground, and that's where their nest is. So you can imagine the vulnerability of something like that. And mangroves are coming in, black mangroves. This is a picture right after actually a relatively small overwash event. This is actually during what I would consider really a moderate nor'easter the year before last. And as you can see, virtually all of the island is overwashed. There's game. Okay, so this property is managed for shorebirds and seabirds by FWC. They're biologists with help from Audubon and from the city. And there are game cameras out there in the areas posted by Lieutenant Miller's folks primarily every year in the springtime. And the island is owned by the city, and it is a no trespass once the birds show up and start their nesting process. And I would say compliance the last couple years, pretty good. And it doesn't take much disturbance. And when those birds are on their nest, it doesn't take a lot of disturbance by a human or a dog, as an example, to cause those birds to fail nest. So least terns, and what you can see there, I don't want to show a bunch of graphs, but just to give you an idea, the red is what's being produced in terms of flight-capable birds, and the green is the actual nesting. This doesn't have 2023, but you can see we've had decent numbers of nests, but you can see the flight-capable birds are not very good, and that's because of overwash events primarily, because the elevation of the islands on the 4 to 4.5 NAVD 88 elevation, which doesn't take much of a tide to overwash that. At Anastasia State Park, which is the main nesting area, and of course, if we're getting overwash at Julia's Island, Anastasia State Park is also getting some high water coming into the dunes. So you can see same, in fact, one year in 2020, they had 415 nests, but they only produced 89 flight-capable young. Not good. And there's also other areas of nesting in the county, but not very many. The other one is the Wilson's plover, and that's what a Wilson's plover looks like. And you can see their numbers, same thing. We're a lot more nesting with a lot less flight-capable young being produced. Any questions so far? I'm sorry, I'm trying to fly through this so we can. American oyster catcher is another one. You can see actually a banded bird there. Most of the birds in our area have been banded by FWC and University of Florida, so we have really good information on these guys and gals. And they're very territorial, so on an island like Julia's Island, as small as it is, if you were to get 2 nests at the same time, that would be about as much as the island could support because they will chase each other off. So they're more or less solitary nesters. And black skimmers. We haven't had many black skimmers nesting. We've had a few failed attempts, but that's not something that nests much. In fact, here's the entire St. Johns County numbers for the entire county. You can see the best year was 17 nests, but virtually no production of black skimmers. So our goal for this project is very simply to improve the nesting habitat for those species we just talked about. And there's also, I didn't mention it, we also have willets and clapper rails that nest in the marsh, which won't be affected by this project, just to mention that they are in there as well. And we want to increase the elevation of the island, but also increase the size of the island at that elevation as well. And another component to it is actually, if you're going to build something like that, you're going to have a wave attenuation. We're going to make sure that the material in a way doesn't, sure it's going to move around a little bit, but we're going to make sure it doesn't cause any problems in navigation, and we want the material to stay there as long as it possibly can. So there'll be, when I say hardened, it'll be a living shoreline type hardened, but also the opportunity to work on, probably might very well end up being Taylor Engineering that we work with. We're hoping. But there's a lot of options in terms of how we can do that. We can actually build additional salt marsh, all sorts of stuff. Could be a component of this. And just to give you, so to give you an idea, there's Julia's Island. There's the green is an approximately 5-acre side, which is what we're kind of talking about in terms of increasing the size of the island. Everything in the green is intertidal as we speak, subtidal. And so it would actually be, filling that up to an elevation of 7 to 8 foot in AVD. And to give you an idea of size, you can see the shoal that's off the mouth of Salt Run is approximately 49 acres. And that material, and you can actually see where the Corps took material and it was put up on Ponte Vedra a couple years ago. That material is not the greatest material. It's certainly not very good for beach quality. We can accept, depending on what the engineering tells us, we can probably accept material that's not necessarily considered beach quality, and we have the ability to mix it and do different things. And so this is really being considered a beneficial use of dredge material that is maybe not beach compatible, and everybody's looking for places to put that material. So we will hear back in probably 3 months from NOAA if we made the cut, and we'll have to design it and build it in 3 years, which will be pretty aggressive, to say the least.
Excuse me, what is the acreage of the existing Julia's Island now?
What is the acreage?
Acreage.
Oh, acreage. Excuse me. I thought you said anchorage. I'm sorry. I'm thinking navigation. The white part, which is the upper sandy part, is just a tad under 3 acres, probably 2.8, and the rest of it around it is all salt marsh and some open water.
So even if you took sand from the huge sandbar there, it won't make much of an impact on that?
No, sir, it will not. The volume estimate, really rough volume estimate, is that it would be maybe 100,000 cubic yards, which, from a core standpoint, that's pretty minor. We have spoken with the Corps of Engineers, both in the permitting world and their planning people, and of course they fully support. Well, not of course, they fully support this, and the reason is again looking for beneficial uses of dredge material, of course, and of course the positive ecological benefits of this as well. And it's actually, you probably have heard that the city's working with the Corps on the back bay study. I hope you guys know all about that. If not, we should probably get somebody here to talk to you about that. But the back bay study, this is one of the projects the Corps is looking at as a potential, and something similar to this as a potential beneficial for the city. And they're thinking primarily flooding to mitigate some flooding, because basically it's a speed bump. I don't know what to call it. It's really pretty much it is, to knock down some of the wave energy. And then also, just briefly, there's those are the channel markers and where they were placed in for the boating safety zone there at the mouth of Hospital Creek. And what FWC wanted to do, this the way their rules are, since this is a blind curve and this is a blind curve, their rules allow 300 feet back is posted. And thank you to Eric. Those that has been posted, the signs are up, and I'll show you. It's a typical sign like this. And they were put up, the 11th, 12th, and 13th of November is when they were installed by the marine contractor. So any questions? That pretty much goes through it really quickly. Again, this is for information purposes only. Not to say I won't come see you guys again, but it is for information purposes at this point.
Great. Any questions?
One question. Hospital Creek, I'm not that familiar with some of the local names. It's located where?
All right, so if you go here and go south, you're right there. You're at the Castillo de San Marcos. The Castillo is right on the bottom part of there. And so Hospital Creek, if you go up, it stops at State Road, at 16, County Road 16, sorry. It's not State Road, was it? Whatever it is, 16, as you're going out on the bridge. And historically, it went further up and connected into Robinson Creek to the north, but when in the 1960s or late 50s, when the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind built its eastern part of their campus, that was built on top of that marsh and that creek. Does that help?
Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Well, thank you. That sounds like a great project. Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Good. That brings us to public comment again. Any members of the public have any comments? Hearing nothing. Comments by commissioners. Tom?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Chris?
I'm good. I mean, happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
too.
Linda?
Happy Thanksgiving.
There we go. Commissioner Bender?
Since this is my first meeting and there was some concern about a conflict of interest with me being on the St. Augustine Beach Code Enforcement Board, I advised City Manager Max Royal before the meeting that I will be resigning from that, even though the attorney laid out the situation where it would not be a conflict in most cases. It's better for the residents of the whole district that I do not have any conflict at all. So I will be notifying Max Royal that I will be resigning immediately from the Code Enforcement Board and with the acceptance on this board. Thank you.
Great. Makes sense. And congratulations again. And happy Thanksgiving. There being no other business.
Next meeting, yeah.
Our next meeting will be, I believe, December the 19th. Yeah. Is that right? And this meeting is adjourned.